Activate defenses.
Activate defenses.
Commence countdown.
10 minutes and counting.
9 minutes and counting. 8 minutes and counting. 7 minutes and counting.
6 minutes and counting.
5 minutes and counting. 4 minutes and counting. 3 minutes and counting. 2 minutes and counting.
1 minute and counting.
40 seconds and counting. 10, 9, 8.
Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. This is a live happy hour. Live happy hour. That means anything can happen and usually does. Hello to everybody out there. Let's see who we have on the roster for today. We've got DTUK. We've got Bill Canaz, Long Island, New York. It's like Bill knows the drill. I want to know where you're all hailing from. We've got Sun Real Life in Indiana, USA, all the way in Indiana. I had no idea. We got Watches and Spirits. Love your Instagram, man. Good afternoon, everyone. We've got Drew Smith in Wichita, and we've got Chris Millard. We've got Alan Bendy, who's been doing jokes aplenty, dad jokes and otherwise. Hello, Alan. How are you? We've got the other fellow. We've got Steve Parker's all the way from Houston. We've got a lot of folks from the U.S. here. Anybody abroad? Oh, wait. Wolverhampton. The machine is from Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton sounds like that could be international. I don't know of any Wolverhampton in New Jersey, USA. So therefore, anyway, it is a happy hour. First of all, slanja, cheers, prost, wherever you are around the world. My first sip of the day, I swear. It's 4 p.m. here in the lovely Northeast, and this is an amazing Woodford Reserve bourbon. I know, sort of going Goldfinger-ish, if you will, and why not? It is Thursday when we're doing this live, and we are talking about a lot of things coming up in the future. We're also going to be talking about present Bond news. I'm going to have several guests help me walk through this, but guess who else is going to help me walk through this? You. Yeah, you with the hat on. People like AJ from San Antonio, Texas. People like Ryan from literally down the street from me. Hello, Ryan. Analyze This, Mr. Bond. Hello there. Hi. I'm Ryan from Analyze This, Mr. Bond, and I've just poured myself a drink. That's a very bad impersonation. We've got Kojak, who loves you, baby, evening from the UK. We've got Horev. Horev, where in the world is Horev? He's in London today. Yeah, but soon he's a pilot. He'll be on a plane going somewhere. I want you to help with the chat, help with the conversation. We're going to be asking you questions, but I have to introduce my co-host to this wonderful happy hour. I'm not doing it alone. And I think the nice way to introduce him would be to do it with the type of fanfare, the sort of trumpeting of his presence that only he would do correctly. So before we introduce him to the stage, let's have a little bit of warming up.
Because no one else will save you. The answer and I will replace you with a golden eye. Golden is the writing song. The
Amazing. Welcome to the stage, everybody. Warren Ringham, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm now really hoping I can live up to that introduction.
Well, you guys created that introduction. I mean, that was amazing. We all saw that video, and the excitement was here. I mean, it was pretty off the hook for October, and now it's really. I mean, that thing just really encapsulates so well why people get so excited about these things.
Yeah, we've just recently produced these new trailers, and they look. I'm really, really pleased with them, actually. The guy that did it, Luke, has done an amazing job with them. Came along to one of our shows last month and took a load of footage from the show, and then has put it together. And I think it really captures the essence of what we're about. Yeah, of course, the big difference for the West End show, it's an even bigger band than normal. For anyone that's ever been, will know. We go large on the London ones. You
do go large. Is this, I mean, we've listened, last couple of years, nothing like, a small place like the O2, but is this a larger venue this time around?
Yeah, a lot larger. It's one of the most famous and largest theatres, well, one of the most famous theatres in the world, actually, but it's one of the largest in this country. I think we're now getting to sort of the third, maybe second, third largest theatre in London. Really from here it's sort of into the Albert Hall and stuff is the only place we've got left that's bigger. A couple of maybe the London Palladium, but you never know where we're going to be in the future. But the thing about this theatre is stunning, and it's such a really great venue from every aspect. They did a lot of refurbishment during COVID, so literally every seat in there has been recently refurbished, and the room, there's lots of leg room, the sight lines are amazing. And when I sort of did the recce down, I just thought, oh my god, everyone's going to love this. Literally every single viewing angle is just perfect. So
how is the stage side compared to the Indigo?
This bigger, you'll be pleased to know. You won't be kind of like sort of squeezing on like you have been on some of the more recent shows at the O2. My
audience loves behind the scenes, and I will tell you, my hardest part was not coming up with a monologue or getting out on stage in front of 3,000 strangers. It was more of getting over the wires and not tripping and killing myself in the dark very often.
Yeah, there'll still be a little bit of that, David. There's always a lot of wires, but yeah, you'll have a bit more room.
Yeah, well, we're going to break down some of the guests. We're going to talk about some of the guests that are coming. We're going to be talking about the event. We're going to be talking about the whole weekend. But Warren, there's been a little bit of news, and I realize that my audience and even me, we haven't really touched base on a couple things that have transpired. And listen, at the heart of this, and I think this is what makes Cue the Music so special and unique, you're a Bond fan. So as a Bond fan, I wanted to ask you a few questions to kind of warm us up a little bit, warm us up over a drink. And that is, we got the trailer for the video game. First of all, are you a gamer? Do you partake? And then what did you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit like one or two other people I've heard talk about. I think Joe Darlington might have said something along the lines of the same as me. Well, I used to be a massive gamer when I was younger. I think you said the same thing as well. I was listening to you talking about it. And, I think when you get older, you have quite a big job. Your job's much bigger than mine, but obviously Cue the Music takes up an awful lot of my time. And then I've got two young kids. It becomes harder. So my gaming tends to be now playing Mario Kart with my 6-year-old son and that sort of thing. But this is something that really would interest me to play. I mean, we have played a bit of GoldenEye together. Actually, I played it with my daughter. She's really good at GoldenEye, the original one, obviously.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we did at the Cue the Music retreat last year. We did a GoldenEye competition on a great big giant projector. I took along my Nintendo Switch with 4 controllers, and we actually had a knockout sort of round robin tournament. I think there was about 30 or so people, and me and my daughter Izzy and a couple of other community members. I can't remember who won it in the end, but got to the final 4. And the guy that won it was just an absolute beast. He's just smashed everyone. But so yes, going back to the First Light, I thought it was really great actually. That it was funny because my initial reaction was like, wow. And then I listened to Joe's Darlington's podcast about it, and he kind of, I don't want to say burst my bubble, but he just brought a different take to it that I hadn't really considered when he said it. It felt a little bit like every other agent game. And I sort of thought about it. I thought, I know what he means by that. And I think the hardest thing I found was trying to adjust to a different looking James Bond.
Yeah.
that I found it quite kind of jarring in a way, and I'm not sure whether it's that I want the gaming Bond to look like a Bond on screen, or whether it's just the fact that whoever plays Bond now is going to be a new Bond, and it's going to take a little bit of adjustment. But on the point about it looking like every other agent, I kind of think about that in a way about every single agent film that comes on. You know, all these streaming platforms now, they all kind of feel a little bit similar, and the thing you have to remember, I suppose you have to remember, is that they're all taking their influence and essence from Bond. I mean, he set the standard. You know, even Mission Impossible to a degree is taken, or Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible has taken a lot out of the Bond films. The motorcycle off the cliff, and there's so many things from Bond. So yeah, I mean, it's not that Bond looks like every other agent. It's like every other agent game and every other agent film is kind of looking a bit like Bond.
That. Yeah, it's true. I thought what Joe Darlington said was interesting, and it's funny because what he said kind of infested my head. He said, this doesn't seem like Gentleman Bond. It seems like young Tom Holland kicking around smart alecky, but it's not the Bond we know. And yeah, he seemed deflated. Hold on, this is so embarrassing. He's calling me on my cell right now, and I hate to take calls during this. Joe, what's up? Yes. We are not talking ill about you. We're actually sort of agreeing with you. Get your facts straight. You cannot come on. This is just Warren and I. No. Oh, for God's Joe.
Hey, what's up?
What are you doing here?
Warren, you're breaking my heart. I'm sitting there I'm like, I burst this bubble. What a piece of shit I am.
Hey, Joe.
Joe Darlington from Being James Bond, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Warren, it's great to see you as always.
It's good to see you, even if you did. No, you didn't burst my bubble. It was interesting, and you made some points that made me think about it and go, yeah, he's got a point. But you know what? Do you know what I mean when I say that though? I feel like everybody else actually. It's not so much that James Bond looks like everybody else. I think everybody else just looks a bit like James Bond.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. And quite frankly, if you're going to present James Bond to a new audience, to a younger audience, you do have to. Again, I think part of me is showing my age a little bit. Like, I mean, this is the world we're in now. This is sort of. So yeah, it's a little different. Plus, I also heard later that this is probably going to be part of a series where this is the first. That's kind of meant to introduce Bond. I hope I could be talking totally out my wazoo there.
That'd be great.
But
that would make more sense that he has to sort of grow into the role a little bit.
It would, yeah. It was funny because I had a flashback of when I saw Casino Royale and thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the older Bond fans were just totally checked out. They saw a muscle-bound guy in a Hawaiian shirt busting through sheetrock, and they said, no, that's not Bond. And I kind of caught myself. I said, boy, that's kind of me this time around, isn't it? It was this young whippersnapper, who looks like everybody else. I'm like, I want a tuxedo and a martini, damn it. What's going on?
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it just takes a little it'll
take
a little growing.
People tend to sit with it and agree with you. Joe's evaluation of the game based on the trailer was spot on. It is very generic to DT.
Can I ask you a question, actually? I don't think I've heard either of you mention this in your chat about this, and maybe other people have, but the thing that just suddenly occurred to me, because when it came out, I thought it was a strange thing to bring out a computer game before a film's come out, because normally a computer game would benefit off the back of the publicity of the film. But I wonder whether this was a deliberate marketing move to get it to a new, younger audience first, and maybe get the gaming market hooked onto a new game. Bit of a risky strategy, maybe, but maybe then when the film comes out, a younger demographic will be more interested in going and seeing the film because they're into the computer game.
Well, I'll say if it was a strategy, it was an Eon strategy, not an Amazon strategy. And I think that in the end, I mean, this was obviously started 5 years ago. Brands were engaged 2.5 years ago. So anytime you see Oliver Brown and everything like that's been 2.5 years or more in the making. The Omega watch you see, the strap, which, eventually they'll release, that was years in the making. I saw a lot of people say, good going, Amazon. This is a really great start. And I'm like, guys, I'm sorry to say Amazon had nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
So I think Amazon is probably looking to slough off as much as they can. It'll see if I'm wondering if there's going to be any connection, if this will be kind of a standoff thing, because, and it, by the way, it's a question I wanted to ask, and Warren, we'll start with you. Amazon. I mean, I've conjured up the name, but there was all this hoopla. We heard about producers and the changing of the guard and the hands and all the speculation. And then there's just seemed to be this like sort of black hole of information. What do you think it means, if anything? And are you okay with it?
Should I go first?
Well, what do you think it all means, this kind of quietness of no news from Amazon right now?
In a way, what I hope, I mean, obviously, who knows, but I hope it just means that they're really taking some time to evaluate before they rush into it. Because in the past, we've seen other franchises and other people, I'm not going to name any names because it's been done a million times, but there are other franchises that have tried to make a comeback with a new owner that haven't maybe worked. And I think a lot of the time they just rushed into some decisions and then try to kind of fix some of the things afterwards. Whereas they take a little bit more time. And
Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but they have. And I think if we take a bit of time and really kind of think about it, because I think that the trouble with Star Wars and Disney is that they've trying to kind of negotiate through so many different areas of issues where you've got the old generation, new generation, everyone wants a slightly different thing, that you kind of end up being nothing to anybody. And I think Bond is going to definitely run the risk of that, where you kind of have the old fans that want one thing and the potential next generation who maybe want something different, and how you kind of negotiate. So I hope they're just taking time to strategize that and really think it through and really take on board lots of different opinions and ideas about what the right way to go before they come out with a plan.
I think you're right. I think the other thing is, although they're going to focus on a movie as a centerpiece, I think they are world building. I think they're building not just a movie franchise, they're building the world of 007 over, which would include everything from fan, liaisons and relationships to clubs, to ambassadors, to products, all those things. By the way, to circle back to you, Joe, Fletcher Sykes and a lot of people are confirming the game developers said they've deliberately made Bond unrefined and he'll grow to be the more charming and sophisticated secret agent. Maybe that's part of your the things you need to do within the game. But Joe, what about you? I mean, I know that you had some really great commentary on when a lot of the news broke, and then you've had this, sort of like, I wouldn't call it flatline, but did you expect more by now, or this is okay?
I think it's probably par for the course, honestly. I mean, Warren, to your point, you don't want to see them rushing half-cocked to get something done just for the sake of getting something done. Excuse my French. Movies take time, stories take time, so I don't feel that this is a lag or it's fine. I think I would have been, if I heard something substantive by now, I probably would have been a tad nervous even. So I think this is okay.
Yeah, Horev agrees with you. Amazon will surprise us at some point when we won't expect it, which is true. They're not going to tell us anything. I believe they're building something, and it will take time with this kind of franchise.
It's going to be a completely new team, though, isn't it? From the floor to the top. Yeah. And do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think they'd be wise to try and bring in some Bond experience, or do you think it's better to start with a clean slate and just go with completely fresh ideas?
Can I give you two frames of mind that I have, both very different? The business side of my head says I would do exactly the same thing. If I had an acquisition of a company, I would sort of make sure that I kind of clean house, because any kind of success, I would want to claim it. I mean, it is a mergers and acquisition move to do that. Also, you want to avoid any kind of infighting or disconnects or whatever it is. But then the Bond fan in me, the David Zaritsky, the non-business side, said, oh my gosh, these people did 60 plus years of amazing movies and experiences. How can you throw the baby out with the bathwater? I'm a fan of Barbara Broccoli. I am. I'm a fan of the family, and I don't know them personally, but from afar as a fan, I've been happy for these many years, and now the mystery kind of without them leaves me a little nervous. as a Bond fan. So I've got the business side, which says there's no way they can keep people. And by the way, we've seen people have sent me links to job applications in some of the roles that some people had in the company.
Apply?
What's that?
Did you apply?
I did not, because you have to be in certain territories. And yeah, you know, the other thing is, I don't think I would apply because I love Bond so much that suddenly when you do it as a job, and Warren, you could speak to this. I don't know. I'm just so nervous that some of the joy will wash away.
Yeah. If you're a steak connoisseur, don't ever go near the slaughterhouse. And I think that probably
I
applies
love that analogy. I love that analogy. Yeah, Joe. I mean, what do you feel about what Warren kind of set up? Because I'll push the question to you. I mean, do you want them involved? Not want them involved? Clean slate?
I think at this point I would say it almost has to be clean slate. I mean, it's, you know, we had a fantastic run from 1962 that some would even argue ended around 1989 even, because a lot of the key players that we had left right around there. So even in the Brosnan years, it was kind of a reinvention, and then again in the Craig years. So, but I do hope that they consult at least with some pretty hardcore fans who understand what makes James Bond unique. I mean, that's the part that I really, really hope that they get, is that, you know, Ian Fleming's creation is it's not just a generic action hero. He's not so I don't want a generic action movie. I want the things that make James Bond very, very different than other films, other stories, other characters, etc.
Yeah, and I don't think because of that very reason they're going to go art house. I don't think they're going to take a lot of risks. Like, I know that there was a couple posts in the last 2 days about you know, some new players as far as being Bond, and some of them would be very different, very avant-garde, you know, risk-taking, some people would say. But in reality, I think Amazon's first movie has to almost click off the tropes and not make any mistakes, not take the chances, deliver a great Bond film. And I love this, what Justin Sanchez says, hold for it, hold technology. I hope Amazon does what James Gunn is doing with the DCU. Don't do anything until a script is finished and there's a plan of action. And Warren, you were going to say something about all this.
Yeah. I just had two really quick things I wanted to say about it, just an opinion. I was thinking about this very point myself. And I think my two things I think that I want to see, well, one thing I want to see and one thing I think they could do, which would really help tie in a really easy win actually with all the fans. But firstly, I really, really hope that it goes more in the direction of the way that the stunts of Mission Impossible have been shot in the past, 10 years or so, where it feels real. There's so many action films now where you just see stupid, impossible stunts performed by CGI. I mean, I was just watching a film last night that was really, really good. I can't remember what it's called. It had Mark Wahlberg in it, and it was okay. I was enjoying it. But there was a bit when he motorcycled off a cliff and jumped onto a plane that was flying past. It just looked rubbish. And it just ruined the whole movie for that point, because it was completely impressible. And I know obviously some of Tom Cruise's stunts are obviously, ridiculous as well, but he is there doing them and they do look like they've really been shot. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I know that there are some examples in Bond history. Die another day. There are other ones where the stunts haven't been absolutely perfectly executed, but from the earliest times, things like The Spy Who Loved Me, The Man with the Golden Gun, straight away that pop into my head, they looked so amazing and they were really setting the benchmark for those sorts of things. And I think if whatever they do on that side, I just want it to look real. And that's the first thing. The second thing, I've made this point to a few musical friends of mine, but I think, and I know that this is my heart leading my head a bit here, but I think an easy win would be to actually get David Arnold back to do the score, because straight away, I think if you did that, you'd be saying to all the fans, we got this, we know what we're doing here. We recognize, one, he's proven everyone loves him. He understands the genre. He pays homage to Barry in his own way whilst setting his sound as well. And I think it would be a really, really good way just to put everybody's mind at rest that is in the Bond fan world, and you want to keep them on side. And I think sometimes that's something Disney haven't done very well with Star Wars. And I think you kind of put a message out there earlier and say David Arnold's on board as the composer, and everyone's going to go, oh, okay. They really have sat up and taken notice of what Bond fans want just in that regard.
There was a great article that's out there, and I can send you guys the link on this, about the way they market and make decisions with content and movies and TV shows. And they use a strategy called RTB, and it's reasons to believe. And so for like Fallout, they knew there was going to be a lot of Fallout fans, so they need to like literally keep a checklist of these are the reasons to believe that Fallout fans would love this, reasons to believe. And they literally have like a bingo list. They need to do the same thing with Bond. And I think the David Arnold thing is such an easy one without saying, guys, we're still doing it like the Broccolis. No, this is a known entity, by the way, that is a fan who understands Bond, who wants to continue that journey. And he's an amazing ambassador. So if you're going to create this, let's say, call it consistency, what a great way to do it. I want to put you guys on the spot in a really terrible way for a second. I'm going to, kind of a couple minutes in here. So Joe Darlington, let's play a game. Amazon calls you, says, hey, we're connecting with fans. And Joe, we've heard you're a person of interest, Mr. Bean. So we want to know, not a positive thing, but a negative thing. Joe, what do you absolutely not want in the new James Bond film? What do you, and Warren, I'm coming for you afterwards. So you start thinking.
That was an interesting twist on what I was expecting you to say.
Of course.
Because it's easier to say what you do want, right? What do I not want? Well, I am I going to be the guy to say it? I don't want to see James Bond changed and made a little more sensitive for today's younger sensibilities. That's a big one. I would like very much to see classic elements, and modern classic is another way to put it. So yeah, I don't want to see that's the thing. I don't want, and I suppose the video game, my reaction to that is a great example. I don't want to see James Bond get lost in modern day settings. I want to see him hold his own, stay true to himself and what James Bond actually is.
I love that. I don't think that wasn't wrong. They will not get your house burned down. What you said. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Actually, what about you, Warren? What they say? What do you not want?
I'm struggling to come up with. I have got one in the end, but I'm struggling to come up with one I want more than what I said about not having poor CGI. But I think I'm quite happy to really kind of give a chance to whatever they're going to do with it, whatever way they go. I want to go in with it, positive attitude. Whatever that comes out in the press that we're going this way, we're going to have a period, we're not going to have a period, we're going to have an origin story, we're not going to have an origin story. I'll give anything a positive go, and I'll go in there and give it a chance. But the one thing I think I don't want to see is poor planning. So when I say that, I think if you're going to have a thread or a continuity between the subsequent films, which makes sense to me, actually, to do it like that. I mean, there's obviously people that do and don't like what happened with the Daniel Craig one. But I think what really didn't work with it was they tried to do it backwards. And then you kind of find yourself, because they didn't think about it to start with, you find yourself kind of wanting to pick holes in it. And it wasn't very hard sometimes to pick holes in some of the bits. So I just like to just have a plan to start with. Again, taking the analogy of Star Wars, that was a really big mistake they made when they came out. The first film set everything up really well, but they hadn't really thought about who was going to do the next one, how they're going to carry it on, and it became an absolute mess. So yeah, start with the idea and have a long-term plan and follow it through.
But by the way, you guys are killing it. My don't want is also maybe like yours, Warren, a little bit more operational than specific. And that is how do I say this the right way? I'm just going to say it. Don't create a movie for a younger audience and not appreciate the fact that younger audiences don't want a younger audience movie or made just for them. They want a good story. They want good action. They want the same things that 57-year-old children want, like me.
Yeah.
They want the same thing. And when I was really young, I didn't walk into a movie and go, "Oh, Jaws, this isn't for me. I'm walking out." Or, you know, these more, you know, Terminator, I'm walking out of here. This isn't for me. Like, people want good story. People, never mind 27-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and everybody's in this mood in Hollywood nowadays of, we have to make it for this audience age. We have to make it for this political proclivity. We need to make it for this, you know, sensuality. Like, it, guys, basics, good story. Keep to your character, keep true. And I'm telling you, the audience will come. It's been proven time and time again.
Yeah, it's up to the filmmakers to show younger audiences what they want. Show them good. To your point, nobody ever made Jaws to satisfy younger-ish audiences. They made phenomenal films to teach young people, oh wow, this is what a great movie really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, just quickly. I think they could do a lot worse than just taking Casino Royale and just analyzing it to death. What worked? Because that film is just an absolute masterpiece, and everybody at the top of the game, just have a look at that. And, you know, as you say, you'd find all the answers that we've talked about. Great music with David Arnold, great story, really good action that isn't CG. It's literally all the points that we've said. It's in that film.
The template is there. I will tell you, in the meantime, you know, we don't have news. We don't have a specific timeline or trajectory. So what we do here is things that get us excited. So Gary, for example, says, my love of the music was undoubtedly reignited with Cue the Music. And it's a really great dovetail from the news of today or the non-news of today. And one of the reasons why I invited Joe was, you know, Warren and I are backstage. We're part of the show. Warren's honored me in you know, letting me compare from time to time. And I really wanted somebody like Joe, who is actually going to be in London at the show, to talk about this. But, you know, let's jump into it, because, you know, we have to create, as Bond fans, our own events. And there is that wonderful thing happening in October. Joe, let's start with you. You thought I was going to start with Warren, but let's start with you. When you finally made a decision that I am attending this amazing weekend and Cue the Music concert with the Three Moneypennies, what went through your head?
Well, a few things. Well, first off, you know, Warren knows what a fan I am, and he's heard me gush, you know, very, very unmanly, about how phenomenal Cue the Music is. So, and it was funny, at some point when we were talking before, I realized I cannot believe it's been 5 whole years since I saw Cue the Music the first time around, and it's taken me this long to do it again. And so, yeah, and just things happening and changing last year that I said to myself, I said, I'm going to do at least one Bond trip in 2025, at least one. So it's been a little too long. And you and I had talked, and you said to me, you said, I think this is the one you want to do. And when you told me about it, I was like, I think you're right. I think you're spot on. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, when I heard about this, I'm like, this is almost, and again, the funny thing is, and Warren has heard me say this, you know, when you saw Cue the Music for the first time at the Honor Majesty's 50th at Piz Gloria, you say to yourself, how are they ever going to top this? I mean, they're a great band, and I'm sure every concert they do is going to be incredible, but how do you top something like this? And I think Warren has found a way to possibly do that. I mean, this is pretty off the hook.
It is.
You know something? You've been doing the band 20 years now, and it still gives me such an incredible feeling to it. Because Joe, I'm a fan of yours, you know, as much as what you say about Cue the Music. You know, I mean, I listen to your podcasts. Whenever a new one comes up, I'm always, oh, great. I can't wait to hear what you've got to say. I really enjoy your podcast. So when you say that you're coming to London all the way from America to come and see my show, it still gives me goosebumps. It really does. And, you know, whenever anybody says they're coming from America or anyone comes and buys a ticket to the show, it's an incredible feeling because, you know, ultimately I've always just been one of you guys, a Bond fan So to get the appreciation from Bond fans just still means so much. So thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm blushing.
Yeah, I said that to Joe. I mean, there's a lot of things. First of all, for those of you that have gone to, especially the October, I keep calling it the October weekend because what happens is I notice Mark Hunt, I notice Ryan, there's Mike Poplowski. There's a lot of people in here who are flying over from the States. I know people that are flying over from Italy, from Norway, from different places. I mean, this is a global event. And yes, they're coming for the big Sunday show. That is the entree. But they throw in appetizers. They do things on other days, which we'll talk about. But Warren, we need to roll this back because I really want to get into the three special guests. I mean, everybody attending is a special guest, but we have three special guests. Can you start with how on earth did you get not one, not two, but three money pennies?
Well, money being the operative word for one, but no, I mean, the thing is that when you kind of have a concert that's on this scale, I think people want to be involved in it, don't they? And also, I pitched the idea of bringing them together, which is the first time it's ever happened. And I think that's what really sealed the deal more than anything, because initially when I contacted, there was a little bit of, well, what is this? But actually, when I explained what it meant to the fans and to the supporters of the fans, by the way, of Bond, I mean, not of Cue the Music, I mean what it means to Bond fans to see them come together. But also, I think for them as well, because each one of them has had their own time in that role, but they've never really crossed paths, particularly with each other. I know that Sam and Caroline were friends, but obviously Naomi is quite a bit after that, the other two, and I don't think they've even ever met. So I think that must be quite a thing they're looking forward to, actually, because it's kind of probably a bit of a sisterly thing that they share together.
That's true. That's true. And I know they're, like you said, they're excited. And listen, we talk about in the world of James Bond, there are very few firsts. It's been around for 60 plus years. This is a first. So, you go to really enjoy the music, enjoy the spectacle, enjoy the banter, enjoy also connecting with other Bond fans. And oh, by the way, you are part of history. And maybe not only the first time this is happening with Three Moneypennies, possibly the last.
I think it will. Yeah, I think it will be. The thing, what else is going to bring them together? But it was quite funny, actually, because Caroline Bliss obviously is a really good friend of mine, actually, now, and because she does the show all over the country with us. So, I speak to her all the time, and, we get on really, really well. She's an absolutely lovely lady, dear friend. But when I initially said to her, look, Caroline, I've got this idea. If I can get the other two, would you be in? And she said, oh, am I not, kind of thing as well. Do you not need me anyway? I said, well, on these London shows, David compares it, it's something, a little bit different. I said, but if I can get the Three Moneypennies, she said, well, see if you can get the other two, then come back to me. Well, once I got Naomi and I got Samantha, I then had to call back Caroline and sort of say, will you do it? And she's like, oh, so now you need me, kind of thing, no, but of course it was all a bit of fun. She absolutely loved the idea, and she's really looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, let's talk about this because obviously Caroline Bliss just perfect, and working with you in this show. Honestly, for so many people that have gone to see your show, she's an extension of Cue the Music. I mean, she's really a part of it, and to have her back is special. But there are so many people who are getting in touch with me, and they're excited to meet her in person. I know that there are opportunities, for example, to meet her. People are even talking about bringing their Barry Manilow records to have signed, for example. But Joe, I mean, let's talk about the impact of each one of these moneypennies, because I think they have something special in their own right. What do you remember about her, and what's the impact?
Well, it's I think it's I had mentioned this to Warren before. I said this is really, really tremendous, and it's funny because I almost forgot that we actually do have three moneypennies that have, meaning like when I was younger and I came into James Bond, and Lois Maxwell was the only moneypenny for decades. So you almost thought you'd never see the day when there would be another. And I remember seeing The Living Daylights and thinking that Caroline Bliss made such a perfect Moneypenny for Timothy Dalton at the time. And I remember thinking like she seemed perfect for him. You know what I mean? Every like looks wise, age wise, everything. And I always thought she had such a wonderful, charming presence. And a little unassuming. So she kind of made the perfect, you know, classic Moneypenny, and I thought she was great. So yeah, and it kind of to get back to what I was trying to say earlier, it is kind of amazing to me that we're sort of living in an era where there are three different Moneypennies at this point. So to be able to get them all together for an event is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah. And Warren, are you too close to this? Are you too close to her to sort of reflect back and appreciate her moments in a Bond film? Or are you right there with us?
Well, this is a bit of a cop-out answer, but it's a little bit of both. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had lots and lots of chats with her over the last sort of 6 or 7 years. So, and I've heard all of her stories as well. And I don't want to sort of spoil October by kind of recounting them all, but she's got some really interesting bits of nuggets of stories from her time, including meeting Lois Maxwell and it being slightly awkward actually. But I'll let her tell you about that in October. But yeah, I mean, it is a bit odd still because I remember, I think it was last year or the year before, she rang me on my birthday and wished me happy birthday. Now, when my phone came up Caroline Bliss, I still had that fan thing of, oh my God, Moneypenny's ringing me. How do you pick it up? And it's, and she's, oh, I just phoned to wish you happy birthday. And it was, on the one hand, it was like, it was just a friend calling. But on the other hand, it still was really, really cool to be getting that moment. So I kind of walk into a little bit in both camps. But in terms of her impact on the screen, I feel very much the same way that Joe said. And I do think it's a shame she didn't have more screen time, particularly in License to Kill. Criminally underused, actually. And I also think she was absolutely stunning. Probably my favorite in terms of, I mean, it feels a bit weird talking about someone that's so close to me now. But probably my favorite looking Moneypenny. I don't think probably. I think she definitely is my favorite looking Moneypenny. She was stunning.
Yeah, she was stunning, and
still is, by the way, Caroline.
Yes, she is. I agree with Jason Webster. He's got a great point. Yes, she was perfect Moneypenny for Dalton's Bond. Timothy Dalton is the closest to the Bond of Fleming's original novels. And he's right. Like, I almost get the sense, if you really read the Moneypenny of the novels, she is that kind of follow along moment. But I do think that, Caroline is her portrayal is a little underappreciated. And clearly Lois Maxwell, you've got the big wave of her and her moments. And then now you've got Naomi Harris, because she's of the moment. She is still Moneypenny, the current Moneypenny, but right smack in the middle, one of my favorites because of the interaction between her and Bond has got to be Samantha Bond. And I tell you, even now when I watch a Brosnan film from GoldenEye all the way through, the tete for tete, the innuendos, the sort of updatedness, but still the flirtiness. And then even Die Another Day, whatever you want to say about the ending of Die Another Day, one of my favorite parts of that has got to be when she's still having her fantasy, which is okay that women have fantasies too and do the type of thing. But she gets caught. Like sometimes we all do, don't we? Lock the bathroom door. But I love the fact that she's portrayed like that. And yet we're all going to be able to engage with her. How exciting is that, Warren?
It is amazing. I think she's my favorite Moneypenny for the character and what Samantha brings to it. I love the kind of constant curled kind of corner of the mouth, cheekiness of Samantha. And on that scene, by the way, Caroline is very, very jealous of the fact that she didn't get to do that scene with Pierce Brosnan. Not happy at all about that bit.
What about you, Joe? Samantha Bond.
She's absolutely incredible, and again, one of the reasons why I think the three Moneypennies are so incredible. I mean, each one really did make a mark. Is very, I would say, particularly Samantha Bond. I mean, when she comes in the Living Daylights, and you get a lot of sass from her that you're not expecting. She's giving it, to your point, giving it right back to Bond, um, hoisting him a little bit on his own petard, but not too much. She, again, she was very much of the time, and kind of the moneypenny we needed at the time. And I think she's absolutely incredible, and I love that she stays so consistent throughout her tenure. I
Ooh.
mean, she's, you know what I mean? She like she has a very strong personality.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that she's very authentic in all of her films, and I think she's absolutely terrific.
I like how you say that she's the money penny we needed. You're right, because she's really charming. You want sort of somebody to go headstrong and just not swoon over Bond,
Yeah.
and yet it is almost like this taming of the shrew, where even amongst her teasing, you know that she's really attractive. It's that
Yeah.
flirting that if you look back on the Samantha Bond Moneypenny things,
Hmm.
you'd be hard pressed to get away with that nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
there'd be major HR issues. And John, for example, says, I came in during the Brosnan era, thus Samantha Bond is basically my Moneypenny. Everybody has them. She's wonderful, so charming, and down for the repartee and watchable. I love that as a descriptor.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, to your point, David, I think, like, there's lines when, when she says, "You may find this crushing, 007, but I don't spend every night." Like, even that little bit, you get the idea that there is a little attraction there that makes her playful with him, and tease him back a little bit. And so, yeah, it was very much a moneypenny of the mid 90s to the early 2000s, etc.
Yeah.
What I love about that line is that you kind of also know that secretly she is.
Right. Yeah.
you know, she
Right.
she plays it brilliantly with Bond, but really she
That's
does.
a great point. Like, I don't see so much of this with Caroline's portrayal, because it's all in the writing, of course, right? I mean, she maybe didn't have the role to do it, but Samantha Bond did humor really well, and it wasn't goofy or campy humor. It was appropriate. Take us out, give us a palate cleanser because something's really rough happened, and then you have, I'll call it, a more complicated, interesting, even from a backstory. Naomi Harris comes along with Moneypenny in kind of a mic dropping moment in Skyfall, of where, like, nobody knows it, and then at the end you're like, hold on a second. So Warren, let's start with you on this one. I mean, Naomi Harris is coming to town, coming to your event. How you doing with that?
I'm really, really excited to meet her and to hear what she has to say, because I think obviously her Moneypenny is so different to the others in that she's so much more involved, not only in the story and cropping up through the film, but the action as well. And I've heard this thing called Team Bond mentioned, or Team what do they call it?
Scooby-Doo gang.
Yeah, but I really I did like that. I had no issue with that at all. And I actually really thought it was great that they kept popping up and helping Bond on his journey in those films. So yeah, very, very different, very, very different to all of the other Moneypennies, but I think it was probably needed to have a new twist, and it did lean in quite nicely to maybe cover off some of the more modern demands of the Bond films. Certainly having a stronger. I mean, we always have this thing that we have women being stronger, and we've got strong women in Bond going all the way back to the beginning. But certainly it meant that we definitely had that in the more recent films in a number of different roles, including M and including supporting roles in the last film. But I think she did an amazing job, and I'm really, really looking forward to hearing her talk about it. And I hear from a number of people that she is the most lovely, lovely, lovely person in real life. One of the most down-to-earth, welcoming, warm, friendly, lovely people that you'll ever likely to meet.
I've heard that from all the brands. They say that the one hope that they have is that she doesn't leave anytime soon as an ambassador. And she's an ambassador of the fan. She's very supportive, very kind. She's exactly what you would want in a fan ambassador, but also product and even film. I mean, she really, truly enjoys the role and the character. And I'll say this my opinion of her role is what I liked about what they did, and I'll get analytical for a second, was they changed it, but they didn't change it so much that you didn't recognize the character. Like, yes, they made her a field agent and had a little bit of an origin story, but she still has this flirtatious nature, with Bond. She's still going through the different tropes that we understand. So I was okay with the changes. It wasn't 180 degrees and it wasn't a wholesale change. And I love here what John Smith said, which Naomi was a curveball in the Craig films and added a different slant on the character, but not so much that you weren't like, that's my Moneypenny. But Joe, what do you think? Naomi Harris.
I think Naomi Harris as Moneypenny in Skyfall is one of the most understated, brilliant things about her portrayal of Moneypenny. I thought that, first off, you're dealing with James Bond, who's now a little bit of a bruiser, a little rougher. His backstory is sort of unofficially changed from being naval intel to now being SIS, possibly. We don't like. I don't know if that's confirmed or not. So I thought the updating of Moneypenny was brilliant because I sort of felt you're giving her a similar treatment, where she's not just one of these sweet little girls from the typing pool. She's now got a backstory of her own where she can kind of kick ass on her own. Maybe not on the level of Bond, but she still has a pretty fierce background. So you sort of gave her a similar treatment. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I thought was amazing was, and they also, I don't know if this was very conscious, maybe this was subconscious, but I love the idea that, like the early flirtations with Moneypenny and Bond, there was a little bit of, did they or didn't they? Like, is there a past there that we don't know about? It's you can't tell. And I kind of felt like they did that here, where it was like you kind of walk away going, okay, wait a second, did they or didn't they? And we will probably never know. And I thought that was pretty masterful in her introduction with this.
All right, so I'm going to put Warren on the spot. I'm going to go first, though, to warm you up, Warren. I think they did, and I'll tell you why. Because when they're shaving, they cut, and there's a little bit of play back and forth. But then the very next scene, she's incredibly jealous of him noticing the femme fatale.
Now.
I mean, really kind of upset, protective, almost like that. Why are you even looking at another woman type of scenario? What do you think, Warren? Did they?
Well, two things. One thing, in that moment when I saw it for the first time, I went into Skyfall not knowing anything. So M dying at the end completely caught me off guard. And it wasn't till kind of right towards the end that I figured out, really, just as it was revealed, I kind of went, oh, she's Moneypenny. And I hadn't clocked it all the way through because I had no idea. I went in completely cold. So in that moment, I was just assumed it was a Bond moment where the next thing that happened was we don't see what happens, but we know what happens. And that's exactly what happened in that shaving scene. So, yeah, I very much think that they did at the time. And so, therefore, I haven't really ever changed my opinion. But one thing that we don't ever really talk about in the Bond community is that after Skyfall, there isn't really any flirtation between the two of them. Again, if you think of particularly in the last film, there's no flirtation. They're friends, really, and that's it.
True. That's a great point.
The first time that's happened in the whole series.
Inspector, when she goes to his apartment, I mean, that's the perfect opportunity, for goodness sakes. But she doesn't even want a drink. She doesn't want anything. She drops off her thing and then basically leaves.
She's with another guy when they're on the phone in Rome.
She can't pine for him all the time. Joe, do you think they did it then? Or are you going to ask Naomi personally?
I don't know. I really don't know. And quite frankly, I would even wager a bet that if I were to ask the screenwriter, he might say to me, I don't know either. We purposely left it a little ambiguous. So I don't know. You don't know. We'll never know. And it is interesting that, to your point, you're making me realize that I felt that in Skyfall and No Time to Die, it was almost like we didn't have time for a little flirtation. But then again, on second thought, well, they kind of did. And then it kind of made me think about it. Inspector
but you couldn't because he was with some, Bond was in a relationship. In theory,
that
wasn't
too, yeah. But I
Yeah.
remember, but to your point about the, her showing up at his apartment inspector, it almost feels like, well, the mood was too heavy. It was a little too serious. They didn't have time to be flirtatious. Then I kind of went, oh, wait a second, why was it so heavy? Nothing was even happening at that point. So,
No.
like, you know what I mean? Like Bond got a little tap on the wrist for going to Mexico City, but that's about it. So there really was no, reason not to.
That's true. These are things that we'll be able to engage with in October. Speaking of October, perfect segue. Warren, you're going to be our guide through the next portion of this because we've got two fans in the room. I'm not including you. You're the director, who are going to be attending this. Myself and Joe, and a slew, at least 168 people online who either are going or considering. So let's talk about Sunday. Number one, we'd like to know what's still available because I know tickets are selling quickly, especially around the parties before and after. But can you just kind of run us through what's available? What's the trajectory of the day? Lead us.
So there's a 3-tier part to the day. You've got the pre-show Moneypenny Q&A, which is going to be an extended, much longer chat with the Three Moneypennies at the Waldorf Hotel, which is right next door to the theatre where the concert is happening, which is the middle part. And then we've got the after show party back at the Waldorf. There is a lot more to it than that because there you go. The pre-show and the after show have got some really cool extra things. There's going to be lots of entertainment. There's some fun casinos. We've got some Bond lookalikes that you can get some photos with. There's going to be some other bits and pieces of entertainment as well that we're still working on. And David, I know you and I are actually trying to get, work on some other possibilities of some other things happening. That if everything comes together, this is going to be almost, if you just had these events on their own, the pre-show event on its own would be mega. If we said, this is what we're doing, all of these things on one night, and there wasn't even a concert as well, I think people would actually really enjoy that evening. So yeah, 3 parts of the day, pre-show event. There are still some tickets available to attend there, to be at the Q&A, to kind of get involved in all the casinos and everything else, but they are running out fast. There are still a number of concert tickets. We've sold well over 1,000 now, but it holds a lot. So there's still plenty of time to get tickets, but be quick because the really, really good seats are really starting to go now. You're kind of ending up a bit further back and a bit further wide. And then the after show party, there's tickets available for that. But again, a lot of people have already snapped up tickets for that. So tickets for the pre-show and the after show are dead easy to buy. You just go on the Cue the Music website, navigate on the See the Show to that date, and you'll find you can just buy them on the website really quickly, really easily. The tickets for the actual concert, same page, but you then get redirected to the venue website where you buy the tickets from the actual venue. So 2 places: tickets for the pre-show and after show from our website, tickets for the concert from the venue website. And I think the only thing I'd really want to say about both the pre-show and after show parties really leans into to what you were saying earlier, that those really are a community events. That's where you really get the chance to meet everybody else that's real diehard Bond fans, but particularly the personalities like you guys are going to be there, and Calvin Dyson, people like Really 007. I don't know if the JBR guys will be there, but I think they're hoping to come. And I'm sure there's other people. I mean, AJ Chowdhury's always one that's there. I'm sure there are other people I'm missing off. But, it's a really great chance to mix with and get a chance to chat to people that you generally only get to see online. True. I always love the fact that I get to see a 3D version of you, David. And it's always a bit odd when we come face to face because I'm so used to chatting to you on the phone and on video call and stuff. And when I see you in person, it's like, oh, okay, we're finally in the room together.
It's a human. Yeah, it's funny too because one of the things I was thinking about, and by the way, how prepared am I by having that? But one thing that this does when people look at it, even me, and I'm a part of this is literally 10 hours of Bond.
Yeah.
Like there is no other place, even my gather-alls, There are a few hours. It's great to get together. This is if you decide to, you can go from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 11 at night and experience Bond celebrities, Bond music, Bond fans. There's going to be Bond clubs there. You'll get Bond content creators like Joe Darlington and Dutch Bond fan and Calvin Dyson and Mark O'Connell and AJ. And you're going to get all these wonderful things. I dare say, like, this is why this weekend has become such a crescendo. And by the way, there have been tons. I wish I could share all the comments of people in the comment who are flying. You know, they're not taking a cab to get here. They're flying and making this a 4 or 5 day vacation. And for those people, Friday, there's always fun activities. Saturday, there's some incredible activities. There may be some guy named Joe Darlington who's having a book launch on Saturday. Maybe that's the rumor. But I keep going back to this like a bookend. The entree, the reason why people are there in that environment and sort of buying time and finding things to do is the vacation culminates in this. I mean, it's absolutely amazing what this has turned into.
Yeah, I'm thing is, I haven't really spoken that much about the actual concert, really, because so much of the focus has been on the Moneypennies, and you know, there's actually a concert in the middle of it. I mean, it'll be our biggest ever band. We will be doing some special items that you just don't get to hear anywhere else in the world, because this year we've got some really big anniversaries. Of course, 60th of Thunderball, 40th of View to a Kill, 30th of Goldeneye, 10th of Spectre. So we will be paying homage to all 4 of those anniversaries during the concert with music. And I don't just mean doing the songs, I mean doing some other really great, you know, I mean, that's the thing I think we've become known for is the suites. The great thing about this year is we've got 2 big John Barry scores. I think that Thunderball is probably one of my top 2 scores, my favorites. And I think View to a Kill is another beautiful score. I suppose if I was only ever going to have one little criticism, sometimes in View to a Kill, Barry uses things a few times, like He's Dangerous comes up about 3 times, and Wine with Stacy is the same as Bond Meets Stacy, but they are brilliant bits of music. So they'll be making an appearance this year without a doubt. And anybody that's seen Katie playing the gorgeous flute solo for Wine with Stacy, which is on our YouTube channel, which gets probably at least a couple of comments every single week for the last 8 or 9 years. Katie is definitely going to be there playing that amazing flute solo. Go and look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. A View to a Kill suite by Cue the Music.
I want to get to. Well, I'm going to share 2 opinions. One I have to share, and then Joe's going to share it next. The one I'm going to share is my wife, who is, I guess, a Bond fan by osmosis. But let's face it, if you're a Bond fanatic, you're probably creating a little bit of angst as it pertains to Bond. My wife walks out of those concerts. The very first time she was like, "Okay, I'm going to sit for a 3.5 hour Bond concert. Here I go," and she loved it. Every moment. There were Bond songs that she couldn't stand over the last few years, me listening to, and the way Cue the Music, and I'm not trying to sell this, guys, everybody says this, serves it up. They do it so well, and non-Bond fans either leave a little bit closer to being a Bond fan or at least appreciating a night out of elegance of music. Let's not forget that we're also going back to the arts. Like, everybody puts down their phone. You're not answering work emails. You're not yelling. You're not talking politics or religion or weirdness. You're not talking about the issues of the world. You're just enjoying yourself. It's a very innocent moment. And my wife loved it so much that the second time she saw you guys, she was relaxed. She knew what to expect. And she goes, I loved it even more. Because I knew these guys were going to roll it out, but somehow they improved it. This is a non-Bond fan talking. So for all of you out there that are like, do I bring my wife? Do I bring my uncle, my cousin, my son? The answer is yes. But I've got to talk to a ringer, not a Warren ringer, but Joe is a ringer. But Joe, talk to us a little bit about, walk us through all this pre-show, post-show, and orchestra. What are you most excited about?
It's genuinely hard to. I'm trying to think. I feel like just hearing all the stuff that's gonna happen Sunday, I feel like I've been like crashed, with a wave of stuff, and it's like, what am I not looking forward to? I mean, honestly, the whole thing is going to be absolutely extraordinary. And to your point, I love the fact that there's going to be so many familiar faces all descending on this thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, and again, as somebody who has seen Cue the Music, I get it. Again, not to sound like a broken record, because Warren has heard me say it, but there are Bond songs that I just did not like even a little bit, and then I saw Cue the Music do it, and I was like, I'm sold. Okay, now I get it. It just makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it is. It is. I think anybody who is not at all a Bond fan would absolutely positively be blown away by this. We are so lucky too. You're sort of making me think of something that I never really considered before. If you go to see a Bond, if you go to see a Star Wars concert, somebody's going, I'm going to do the all of the Star Wars music. Well, there's 4 or 5 that you're going to hear, and that's probably it. And then there might be maybe a couple other obscure things. But when you consider how much music we have for James Bond, that like Warren has a lot of clay that he can take and work with, and or maybe a better analogy is like just different kinds of food, and he can season it the way he wants and prepare different entrees and do different courses in different order. I mean, all that kind of good stuff. You kind of it's almost like we take it for granted until you actually sort of hear it in play, and then you're like, wow, that was a smorgasbord of stuff that I hadn't even considered. Like Warren loves hearing me tell the story about how I loved hearing them do the Honor Majesties, the brassy, smoky music from the '60s, and then do the Propeller Heads version, right after. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I did not know a band of that size could do 2 wildly different kinds of music, and the effect it leaves you with, is just like you just feel like you've been like, 1-2 punch. It was absolutely incredible. So
Oh, Joe, you are a hero. I mean, the thing is, it's like you just put it so perfectly about the smorgasbord and that long but perfectly executed point that you made. That's so true. There is such a wealth of material to dive into, and as a producer and as someone that's putting together these shows, it's so much fun. And I spend so long, sometimes I'm planning years ahead about the emotional touch points that I'm going to go to in the concerts, and thinking back to like Her Majesty's Theatre, which I wish you could have been there for, Joe. But so for those people that haven't seen it, and there will be people in the chat that were there, we had this great moment where we did the bit of music in The Spy Who Loved Me before the motorcyclist goes off the cliff. The bomb goes into the back of the pillow lorry and he goes off the cliff, and then it goes into Bond 77. So I had this idea of when that happens, Caroline Munro would be in the wings, and so you hear that bit of music, then we had the explosion, and then I came on stage fully dressed like a motorcyclist with a helmet on, but with feathers all glued to me. And then Caroline Munro came and helped me to my place, and we played Bond 77. And I was thinking about that for years. And it's those kind of moments that mean so much to Bond fans, that as a Bond fan, I think I'm in tune with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that there's just so many things that I can keep diving into. And I think just one more point is that bringing together brilliant musicians that we have, and really taking time to pick the right people in every single position, that I'm now in the place where I look around the band, I think I could not get anybody better in that role. No matter how much money I had, no matter any pick in the world, I know that they're perfect for that role. And then just letting all that love of Bond and all that passion that people want to see, just let it flow. Don't kind of restrict it. And I think so when you're in the audience, you kind of get washed over with all of these emotions, because they're in there, that you can't fake that. You can't manufacture that. the passion and the love of Bond is really there on stage, and my job as the producer is to let that flow and come out. And so I really enjoy that side of things, and I'm really glad that obviously it worked with you, Joe, and hopefully other people.
You feel it from the audience too.
Yeah, it's extremely rare. If you're a Bond fanatic and you hear about like, oh, there's a hotel here that's going to do a Bond themed party.
Yeah.
Right. Typically you go and you spend all your time going, boy, I wish they reached out to me because I could have helped them with this or that, or, oh, that's not the right movie, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is such a treat, beyond treats, to go to something that a Bond fan, just like you, but knows this material even better than you do, serves it in a way that even you kind of hadn't considered before, and that is just a phenomenal feeling. You can just relax and enjoy and really appreciate the thought, the craftsmanship that all went into putting together this experience.
There's also so many Easter eggs in our shows that people don't even. I always say that the detail is so much that it's almost imperceptible, but there are so many Easter eggs in the show that you can look. If you really look, you can find so many things. Just little things like when we do the Nobody Does It Better, we get to the end, we drop it down. So the band is just playing lightly underneath, and then Caroline will come on and sort of say, thanks for coming, going to see you again. And what I've done is I've got the band to go into doing the 7-note stab riff from John Barry's 007 theme. Da, 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 da. And believe it or not, nobody ever notices. I'm always, did you notice it? And I was like, no, I didn't notice it. But there are so many moments like that in the show, and I think all of those things come together just to give you this feeling of real passion for Bond that you maybe can't even always put your finger exactly on it, but it's those moments that make a difference. It's
true. Well, all right. So this is, gentlemen, happy hour's over. This is last call. I just heard the bartender yell from the dinner. So we're going to end it like this. Warren, we still need your guidance. How do people, if they haven't already, signed up? Where do they get tickets? Get rid of the mystery. Where do we go?
Very simple. cuethemusicshow.com. And
right at the bottom there.
You can follow your nose from there. Just go to see the show in the menu. Look down for the Theatre Royal date, and it will give you all the information and everything you need. Don't hang around because tickets are flying, and you don't want to miss this. It's going to be an absolutely amazing night. And I'm very, very proud to say for the last 2 years, it's won Bond Event of the Year and the amazing Golden Bullet.
Congratulations.
Well,
Joe and I were there, by the way. When Joe lost the ability to win Podcast of the Year, he started flipping over tables. It was embarrassing.
They got ugly.
Good for you, Warren. By the way, gentlemen, thank you so much. Just for everybody watching right now, come and join us in person. Obviously, Warren will be running the show. Joe and I will be rabid audience members, and maybe you'll see me participating as well. But Warren, Joe, thank you so much for coming on board today.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Anytime.
Hope to see you in October.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. And David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you for the next happy hour. Cheers, everybody. Have a great day.